I am sure you all have seen such videos on the net, and the key idea about a flipped classroom video is such a video is created very specifically for a short duration. So, about 10 to 20 minutes or maybe sometimes even a 5-minute video, or rarely beyond 20-minute videos. Okay, so, that is a flipped classroom video, and in that one concept is explained. The basic idea, like what we just now saw, was the basic idea of the Pythagoras theorem of a square plus b square is equal to c square, where a and b are on the two sides. Okay, so, that is what happens in the video, and then what happens in the classroom itself is again an interesting point. Now, the content that the students have watched is given some context. So, often in the classroom the instructor will pick up some real world scenario. So, for example, if you were the instructor, you might pick up an actual a building whose height you want to estimate, or some such mechanism, some such real world scenario wherein you want to apply the Pythagoras theorem in order to solve a problem. Okay. So, as a result of which students are now actively engaged in problem solving and critical thinking beyond the traditional course. Okay. So, the students are not coming to your classroom to hear you say that a square plus b square is equal to c square. On the other hand, students are coming to the classroom to work out problems which deepens their understanding of the Pythagoras theorem. So, what do we mean by deepens the understanding is that they are able to apply it in various scenarios, they are able to analyze a problem and see whether it is a problem for Pythagoras theorem and so on. So, the other advantages of flipped classroom activities are that students are now encouraged to ask exploratory questions and delve beyond the core curriculum, and they can be transformed from passive listeners to active learners. So, this is the big advantage. And why is this a big advantage? Because we already know, we have seen in the previous sessions that active learning has great deal of benefit. So, just to recall, what is active learning? In active learning, the instructor creates carefully designed activities that require students to talk, write, reflect and express their thinking, and students go beyond listening, copying of notes and execution of prescribed procedures. So, students actually take ownership of their learning, and we know that the benefits of active learning are that students are actively engaged with the content and learn from each other. It builds a friendly yet academic atmosphere in the classroom, and most importantly, it includes all the students in the teaching learning process and not just those students who are highly self motivated or who are high achievers in that particular classroom. So, the key idea of flipped classrooms and active learning is that a classroom with instructor and peers present is more useful for students to apply their learning rather than listening to information transmission and asking clarifications. So, the point here that is being made is that it is not that information transmission is not important. Information transmission is also important, but the time that the student spends with the instructor and the peers is better spent in students learning to apply the knowledge that they have gained in the information transmission rather than simply listening to the information transmission. Okay. So, the important thing is, in a flipped classroom, the in-class time can be devoted to tasks that promote active learning, since this information transmission part of the class happens before the students come to the class. Okay. So, let us ask the question, the next obvious question that we would have in our minds is that, okay, it is all fine, does it really work? So, the key idea here again is that there are many studies that establish the benefits of active learning strategies. Now, what is a flipped classroom? Flipped classroom is nothing but a student doing some activity outside of class, student doing some preparatory activity such as watching a video or reading some material, and doing a lot of active learning on that material in the class. Okay. So, as a result of which, the flipped classrooms that incorporate active learning automatically get the benefits of these active learning strategies. Okay. So, there are many papers on these strategies. One of them is as far back as 2001, the idea of flipped classroom with peer instruction showed that students who worked in that model had significant learning gains compared to traditional instruction. And then there were other research work, controlled group studies, which showed that flipping the classroom with small group discussions can also produce significant learning gains. So, there are gains not only in terms of student learning, that students learn better and they are able to perform better in the exams, but also there are gains in terms of students are more interested in the topic, students come to class, and all those other advantages are also been documented. Okay. So, to summarize what we have seen so far, why is flipped classroom a good idea? Because the class time is spent in assimilation rather than information transmission. Secondly, because the class time is spent in the higher cognitive levels of apply, analyze and create on that topic rather than lower levels of recall and understand. And third, the support of peers and the instructor is available to the student while they are working on these higher cognitive levels. So, if there is a doubt or if there is some clarification or if there is some quick conception that needs to be corrected, all of that can happen while the student is working on these problems or on these activities which are targeting the higher cognitive levels.